And good morning, Talmadge East. We like to call him Probate Judge East. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine, KD. How are you doing this morning?
Well, I just like to call him Judge. How you doing, Judge?
Judge Mitchell, I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Glad you're doing well.
Tal, I got to ask you right off the bat. Now, I wish you were sitting out here with us, but you were eager to become probate judge. And it's a learning experience each and every day, and especially the way the pandemic. When you took that office, you didn't know you was going to run into a pandemic, did you, buddy?
No, sir, but I don't think anybody that decided they were going to start a business or took any other job thought they was going to be dealing with one either. So any kind of line of work you're in, even in the radio business, it's a challenge for all of us. We're just trying to get through it the best we can.
What's one of the biggest things? I know we've gone through an election, and did it run pretty smooth for you this year?
Look, the election was the biggest challenge as far as the pandemic for us, because you're talking about 26 polling locations plus your absentee ballots and poll workers for all those. A lot of those on up in age, a lot of older people who choose to serve their communities in that regard. Right. You know, they're retired and they do a great job. But so trying to keep those people safe, making sure they had all the supplies that we could get for them, which we got as much as we could in terms of hand sanitizer, face shields, face masks, you know, the best we could do while still running an open and fair election for anybody who wanted to come vote in person. So we really don't know of any incidents or any long-term sickness that came out of any of that, you know, from any of our poll workers. So we felt like, considering the number of people that came out and voted, particularly in the presidential election, and the number of poll workers that we had step up and choose to do that, considering how prevalent this virus has been, right. I couldn't be more happy with how it went. And to be honest with you, it was as smooth an election as I've been a part of, and we did 3 last year. And the presidential one, with the most people and the most poll workers and all that, was the smoothest one we've been through. So even in the midst of the pandemic, I thought it went great, considering. I mean, obviously there are little hiccups here and there, but generally speaking, it was fantastic.
Well, Judge, you guys also use the electronic poll books, do you not? We do.
We use electronic poll books. You know, that really helps out the board of registrars in terms of keeping up with the data they have to keep up with. You know, in many ways it makes things easier. Some ways it makes things a little more complicated for our poll workers. But once they get the gist of it, and another thing we did is we revised our training this time. Normally we would have somebody come from Birmingham, who we do appreciate, from ES&S, to help us with that, but because of the pandemic they didn't send anybody. So what we got from the Secretary of State was these training videos in lieu of that. But what I decided to do is we uploaded all those videos to a private link on YouTube. We mailed when we mailed their appointment letters to them, we included those links well ahead of the training that we actually did. We did have training, socially distanced and that kind of thing, in waves, but ahead of that, we mailed those videos to them, those links to them well in advance. And so a lot of our poll workers who, you know, were really used to that short class and that's all they got, and even though they had done it before, it's a refresher course for a lot of them, and then our new people, they were able to view those videos in advance. And so by uploading those videos to YouTube and disseminating them, we let them be able to view those training videos in their own time. You know, not having to all pile in a room and remember it all. They could view it multiple times. And I think that really made a difference in terms of the calls we had. So, like I said, I've done 3 elections in the last year. The first one being in March. Our call volume went down from March, and we started this in June because that's when the pandemic really had kicked off. Our March election was generally a normal election, normal poll worker training in June, but we didn't have a lot of time to prepare for it. But we did have plenty of time for November. So our call volume in terms of our staff, we get here at 6 a.m. At the courthouse, our call volume was down drastically, and I think having to make innovative changes in our training made a lot of difference in how we were able to get our poll workers ready to be a poll worker during this time, and it actually made it better for us in terms of how smooth things went.
Well, Judge, I commend you for what you did. When the pandemic first broke, I began to think about, well, how will we conduct the the election schools, and I was still thinking of the way I was doing it 15, 18 years ago. But, as Kenny and I have talked out here, and you're a testament to it, the pandemic caused us to think outside the box, and it wasn't necessarily bad thinking outside the box. I love the idea of the YouTube videos. It allows, as you said, it allows a polling official to sit and watch it in their own time, and then you can always do the refresher courses you need to.
They were educated, but also they were comfortable with it when it came time. So yeah, my hat's off to you myself.
And you're right, it saved you a lot of hassle on election day too.
Sure, and we still had our poll school, but we have about 150. I think we ended up with about 147. No, it was a little over 100. I forget now. About 150 poll workers.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So over at the Baptist Church in Dable, we can fit about 75 people socially distanced. So we split it into two classes. We still had our classes, our poll schools there. The law requires us to have poll schools, so we still had them. We just split it into 2 days. We socially distanced, but having particularly those videos and having our poll inspectors being able to be more comfortable with it just really saved us a lot, and that's something that we're going to do going forward. Good Lord willing, by next time we have an election, there won't be any pandemic to worry about. We'll just be worried about runny noses. But,
I hope you're right, Judge.
But regardless of whether we have a pandemic or not, these type of innovations we're going to keep going forward because they paid off for us in terms of efficiencies and the way we conduct business and the way we do things, regardless of the pandemic. So we innovated because of necessity, but we'll keep those things going forward. So we've learned a lot from. They say necessity is the mother of invention. So we've learned a lot from being put in a situation where we had to.
Well, you've done a great job. Judge, with the legislature going into session in February, do you see any movement to adjust that election law that would allow you to do this training virtually as opposed to requiring it to be done in person?
We had our winter meeting the other day. It was virtual.
I was going to ask you about that.
A lot of discussion about that. We did talk with the Secretary of State about some election law changes, most of which I would be completely fine with. But and that would be fine with me. I do think there is some value in putting people in front of you so that they can ask questions on the spot. But I would think if it was an either-or option, so, still give us the option to host the in-person poll schools for those who are not as comfortable with the internet or with computers, and we would still be able to facilitate training for those folks. But the people who wanted to participate virtually, and so we kept track of people who participated virtually. They still signed in like they would at the poll schools because they get paid a small amount of money for doing that. So we still kept track of that for those people, so that they still got the amount of money they get for taking part in it. And so I would like an either-or option if we're going to do something like that. But I haven't heard of any movement in that regard from anybody. You're more in touch with Montgomery than I am, Judge. You might have.
Hey, we got a lot more to talk to you about, and we ain't going to have near enough time, so we're going to take a commercial break. If you don't mind, if you'll hold on, we'll be right back with you, Tal.
We'll do it, KD.
Thanks, sir. We'll be right back, folks. Hey, Tal East, thanks for Probate East, thanks for being back on with us this morning. Terry and I were just talking about, man, you're so fitting for your job because we feel it, we understand you, and feel the love that you have for your job as probate judge, and it's because of the people you deal with.
Well, I'm very blessed to be in my job because of the people of South Coosa County. I've said it before in the show. I'll continue to say it, and the minute it's not true, I'll go find something else to do. Is that it's an honor and a privilege that so many good people that I know that are a lot better folks than I am have entrusted me with this position, and that's what I think about when I wake up and come to work every morning. That's what I think about. That's my guiding principle in terms of how I approach my job, is that there's a lot of good people that I know, and that even people I don't know that help put me here and that chose me for this, and there's no better honor or privilege that I could have in my life, to be honest with you. It'd be nice to be governor or president or something like that, but then you're accountable to a lot of people who don't know who you are. But I get to come to work every day, and I know that I'm accountable to the people that I place a great deal of respect and trust in, and so it means a great deal to me. I hope that it comes across. Even if it doesn't, it's certainly true.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, it does come across, Judge, and you're right. I used to say it kind of in jest that the probate office is the best elected office in the state of Alabama, and I can't believe I'm here. I love serving the people, but they pay me to shake hands. But, Judge, there's not a day that
a little more than that, but...
That's right. But there's not a day you come to work that you're not able to help somebody.
Yeah.
And you can help them.
That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. Judge Mitchell, this more than anybody. Every time we take 2 steps forward, the state throws a monkey wrench at us and makes us take 1 step back. But we within the confines of what we're allowed to do, we're here to make things as easy as possible for folks. And I know that can be frustrating sometimes, but I assure you, if it was just up to me, then we just be doing it as best we could for everybody. But we have rules and laws that we have to follow, and so we do the best we can to help people navigate those, because I know that sometimes some guy at the Department of Transportation down in Montgomery comes up with a rule that he thinks is a fantastic rule that we all have to follow, but the regular guy who just going to work every day doesn't know that rule and doesn't understand it. So it's as best we can, we try to help people navigate that within the confines of what we're allowed to do, and so that's what we're here for.
And you do a great job with it, and you're right. You just have to navigate through it. You've got some great legislators now that's easy to talk to. So if a law or a policy comes up that looks like it's not going to fit well, at least you can pick up the phone and call them, talk to them,
right.
and say, look, let's don't go that route. Let's talk about it before we implement it. So.
Yeah, I will say this: that no two people are going to agree on everything. But the one thing that I would certainly say I'm appreciative of, and that I really appreciate, is that our Representative Ed Oliver and our Senator Tom Wiley are always available whenever I try to get in touch with them. And so when I reach out to them, if I don't get them directly, they always call me back. So I have no complaints in that regard. Now, if they screw up, then I'll complain. But as far as me getting a hold of them and letting them know about laws that may come up that affect our office, I haven't had any problems in that regard, particularly during the legislative session when I know that they're getting pulled 1,000 different ways.
That's right, and that's fixing to happen. But I've called Ed, and I don't know Tom as well as you do. I know Tom, but I have called Ed. I often find myself staying up late, and I get up early, and I have called Ed at some odd times, and the phone will not ring twice until Ed picks it up.
You're right.
And he'll say, Judge, what's wrong? What do you need? But I
don't have any complaints. They're always available for me, and that's the most you can hope for. You're not always going to agree with somebody 100% of the time, but as long as they're willing to listen to you and understand where you're coming from, then that's about all I can ask for out of a legislator, unless they're and obviously I would hope they take my opinion into consideration, especially in regards to my office, and I feel like they do.
And they do.
I don't have any complaints in that regard.
I think they do great. You got a great staff you've put together at your office in Dayville. I really admire what you've done, and to work with your staff during this time is a bit of a challenge, I know.
Well, it has been, but we've been very blessed. A couple things. One, we just try to we try to put together a group of people, and I inherited some really good people. I don't have any complaints in that regard, but we just try to have a people first mindset, a taxpayer first mindset, that that we're here to make things as easy as we can on the people who are paying our salaries. So as long as we keep that first in our mindset, I think that, and that's a challenge sometimes, but I think that we'll be successful. And beyond that, we've had people out with child care issues and stuff, but in the probate office we've had one COVID positive test and since March of last year, and that's a testament to people who are taking this seriously and trying to do the best they can, because and then we've had some absences due to child care, schools closing down, that kind of thing, and that backs things up a little bit. But by and large, I think people have been generally understanding of the fact that everybody's kind of going through this as best we can. But we've had out of the one positive test and her family, they're all okay now. She's back at work. We've had no major illnesses and no real problems from it. So that's allowed us to be more efficient in terms of the way we facilitate people, because we're not toting around a lot of extra folks that we could be without. And you really realize that when you've got one or two out. So it's a testament to the people who work for me that how well they've done in terms of keeping themselves healthy and coming to work every day and being available and still doing the best they can. And I'm very appreciative of them. Nothing I do would be possible without an excellent staff.
I fully agree with that. Been there with you, and you don't realize how much you depend on that staff till one or two of them are out, and you look up and ask for something, and there's nobody standing there to hand it to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't be a great judge without a great staff. You're correct. So, and you do a great job. Well, with the legislature coming into session soon, do you see anything coming up in out of the probate office in Tallapoosa County? Anything you've got, any local legislation you want to talk about?
I don't have anything locally. We anticipate, there was a mental health bill last session that had some things in it that I was not a big fan of, and we anticipate some version of that coming forward. Now, we do need some mental health overhaul in Alabama. There's no doubt about that.
No doubt about it.
There are certain things, as you know, that the probate judge's office doesn't deal with. One of those things is minor children. We don't deal with minor children in regard to mental health issues because we're just not really equipped to deal with it. We're set up to deal with, adult mental health facilities.
Yes, sir.
If there is a mental health bill, and it's something I've talked with Ed about, we hope that last year it started at 14, they moved it to 16. We hope that we will keep that at least 19, or if they want to make an adult in Alabama 18, 18's fine. So we anticipate some type of mental health legislation just because we've had a lot of local bills with regard to mental health because there's not been any statewide effort. So, and I don't know specifically which counties, but let's just say, for example, Mobile County might have had a local mental health bill that addresses mental health things there but doesn't affect us. There's been kind of a smorgasbord of those in different counties. So they're trying to make it uniform, which is a fantastic idea, and we really need some more resources put in mental health and long-term care beds for people with long-term mental health issues, people that are not getting any better. But I look forward to that. There'll be some election overhaul stuff with regard to how this last election was run. Like I said, the Secretary of State went through some of that with us in our winter meeting. I didn't see very much at all that I would disagree with. You know how things get going with the session. There's no telling what'll come out. But those are the two things I look forward to addressing and with our legislators is if there is going to be a mental health overhaul, just trying to make sure it's within the confines of what the probate office is equipped to do, but we certainly would support that. And then any election related issues regard to how they had absentee voting and things like that, although I'm not the absentee election manager, but it just affects us and versus curbside voting and things like that, whether that's going to be allowed. There are certain bills that the Secretary of State is going to propose, and I think our association is going to support, by and large, most of them. So those are the two things I see coming up. I really haven't seen anything else except for around the margins that would make a great deal of difference.
I'll tell you what, we'll get you back on, hopefully out here with us. If not, we'll get you back on to after legislation convenes. We'll get you back on to hear back from you. It's been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure visiting with you this morning, and we'll look forward to hearing from you again real soon, Judge.
Well, thank you, KD. I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you, Judge Mitchell. And we still got to get together on that road now. You sent me that link, but I'm not a tailor. I don't know what any of that means.
I tell you what, you just come see me anytime you want to, and I'll take care of it for you. Just call me and let me know you're on your way, and I'll wait on you.
All right, I appreciate it, Judge.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you.
Y'all.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
Tally's with us, Probate Judge, Tallapoosa County. We'll be right back.